Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday's lesson on 12.3 conditional statements. All right. Today we're going to talk about using conditional statements. All right. We're going to talk about using if-then statement, which I know you've seen in science before. Okay. And we are going to actually end up finding the converse on them and then determining truth values from those statements. All right. So first, let's get through some review here. Let's first talk about what conditional statements are. What's a conditional statement? It is an if-then statement. Okay, conditional statement and if-then statements are the same thing. So when you see this, you need to think if-then. All right. So there are two parts of if-then statements. First part is the hypothesis. Okay, the hypothesis is then followed by the conclusion. Okay, the hypothesis is kind of like our circumstance or our idea. And then our conclusion is what happens after the circumstance or idea, or kind of the, I don't know, the result of what happens. Okay. Couple things here. The hypothesis always follows the word if. All right. So when you think hypothesis, if you're looking for it in a sentence, if you're looking for it in a conditional statement, look for the word if. Hypothesis follows directly after it. Okay. That means the conclusion must follow the word then. So conclusion is always after the word then. So if you're looking for the conclusion, search the sentence for the word then. What comes after that will be the conclusion. All right, so some examples of this. If it is raining, then I will carry my umbrella. Okay, well, here's the word if. That must mean, according to this, that this must be our hypothesis. And if you look, yep, it is our hypothesis. Here's the word then. That must mean that this is our conclusion. So the hypothesis or our circumstance here is it is raining. What do we do when it's raining? I will carry my umbrella. So that's our statement. Hypothesis and conclusion. Okay. Some of the examples that you have on your homework tonight will ask you to turn statements like this into if-then statements. So here's the statement. It says, people living in Minocqua live in the United States. Well, what's the circumstance? The circumstance or the idea is that people live in Minocqua, right? So I'm saying that that is my hypothesis. And then what's the conclusion? Well, if you live in Minocqua, then we're saying that you live in the United States. So that is the conclusion. And now the question is asking us to turn it into an if-then statement. So this is what it looks like. If people live in Minocqua, then they live in the United States. Okay, so that is our if-then statement from this original sentence. All right, I'm going to clear this because we're going to come back to it. Okay, now, converse of statements. I am going to explain this in a way that, again, you're probably going to think is weird, but I'm going to relate this to shoes. Okay, I'm going to relate this to shoes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the definition is. I'm going to explain the definition, and I'm going to come back to the shoes idea. All right, so converse of a statement is when you interchange the hypothesis and conclusion to make a new statement. So I'm interchanging those things. Taking my hypothesis, which usually comes first, and my conclusion, what am I doing with them? I'm switching them around, okay? Switching them around. The hypothesis and conclusion switch. Now, let me go back to the shoes idea. I have a pair of Converse basketball shoes, all right? And that used to be the popular basketball shoe back in the day. Now, when I put on my Converse shoes, I can switch directions really fast. I can, all right? I believe it, okay? When I put on my Converse shoes, I can switch directions real fast. So I always think of a converse statement as switching, okay? Converse means to interchange or to switch the hypothesis and conclusion. So when you're asked to write the converse of statement, switch them. All right, now let's take a look at an example here. Now, obviously, this is in today's day. So let's say that we're going to say that this is 2013, and this is the 14th for today. All right, so here's the statement. If today is May 14th, 2013, then it is Tuesday. Okay? Now, that statement there is true. All right? That is a true statement. Let's look at the converse. If today is Tuesday, then it is May, 14th, 2013. All right? Now, is that true? Is that true? If today is Tuesday, then it's May 14th, 2013. Is that true? Well, of course it's not true. All right? Now, here is what you need to know about proving things true or false. Okay? We talked about this. Conditional statements can be true or false. All right? Now, that can be, let me talk about this for a second. This can be the original or the converse. Both are conditional statements, and they can be either true or false. Now, let's look at the converse statement of what we had before. If today is Tuesday, then it's May 14th, 2013. Now, obviously, you're all thinking to yourself that that's false. Now, if you want to prove that something is false, we need to do something very specific. I can't just shout out and say, you're wrong about that. I can't say those things, okay? A student in class just can't look at an example that I or some other teacher has on the board and say, no, you're wrong, because the teacher's going to say, why? All right? We always have to provide evidence of why we think something is not true. What we're going to do is, when we want to prove that something is false, we are going to give a counter example. The counter example is an example that shows the opposite. All right? So, what we can say is, we can actually go back and use some of the same statement, okay? So, from the original statement, if today is Tuesday, then it's May 14th, 2013. That's false, and we can say that that's false because on May 11th, 2011, it was also a Tuesday. Okay? That's true. May 11th, 2011, I'm pretty sure that was a Tuesday, all right? But you get the idea. You need to provide an example. So if I say, if 2 plus 2, and I say that that equals 4, that would be true, right? And if I instead say 2 plus 2 equals 5, you would need to give a counter example to show that this is false. And your counter example would be 2 plus 2 equals 4. All right, you get the idea? Let's go back to our original statement here. If people live in Minocqua, then they live in the United States. All right, the converse of that is, if people live in the United States, then they live in Minocqua. And that is also false. Okay, the converse of this is false. If people live in the United States, then they live in Minocqua, all right? Because if people live in California, they would still live in the United States, but they would not live in Minocqua, okay? No. Get out of here. So does that make sense, guys? Sometimes the converse is true, sometimes it is not. Let's look at this. The converse of this is, if I carry my umbrella, then it's raining. Okay? That would be the converse statement of the original one. All right? Now, is this true or false? If I carry my umbrella, then it's raining. Not necessarily. Okay, I can carry my umbrella anytime I want to, in case it might rain. Okay, that's not always true. So, let's go through a couple examples here. People who hate the Packers, or people who like the Packers, hate the Bears. Turn this statement into an if-then. Okay, so if I like the Packers, then I hate Bears. Okay. Is this true or false? If I like the Packers, then I hate the Bears. I would say probably false because I know people. I know people who like both. Okay, I do. I know people who like both Packers and the Bears. I don't know how they do it, but I know people. Right now, the converse of that statement is if I hate Bears, then I like Packers. Okay. Now, is that true or false? If I hate the Bears, then I like the Packers. Well, what if I'm a Vikings fan? If I'm a Vikings fan, I hate both Bears and the Packers, right? So this is also false because I can provide a counter example saying, well, I'm a Vikings fan, so I don't like either one of these teams. Okay? And those would be my counter examples that I would give. All right, last example here. If I eat a gallon of ice cream, then you won't be hungry. Okay? Now, that original statement, I'm going to go ahead and say that that is true. If you eat a gallon of ice cream and you're still hungry, you have a tapeworm or something, okay? But you are definitely not hungry anymore. You have some type of illness, all right? So I'm going to say that that's true. Now, if I write the converse of that statement, if I am not hungry, then what happened? Then I must have done this. I ate a gallon of ice cream. Well, is that true or false? I don't know. If I'm not hungry, then I must have eaten a gallon of ice cream. Well, I'm going to say that's false because I can eat anything besides ice cream. So this would be kind of a ridiculous conclusion if you just walk around and say, hey, you're not hungry? Oh, then how was that ice cream that you had? That wouldn't make any sense because maybe they ate something else, okay? So then your counter example of this would be I ate, I don't know, brats, okay? I had like 37 brats with a Z. Brats with a Z are much better. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today's lesson, guys. Homework is on the board behind you. If you need to go back in this video and get notes, okay, please have Miss McFerrin go back to the video and pause it so you can write some things down. This video is also on my website, and you will be able to watch it when you get a chance on your own, okay? You guys should have a good chunk of time to work for class right now. I expect you guys to get things done. I will see you when I return on Wednesday. Peace.